Welcome to Paranormal Nightfall.
Bermuda Triangle Airplane Mysteries. Flight 19. One of the most baffling plane disappearances in history happened early December 5, 1945. Not one, but 6 planes vanished and have never been found again. They were on a training flight out of the Naval Air Station in Fort Lauderdale. 14 airmen were involved in the disappearance. On that day, bombing practice was to take place in what is now known as the Bermuda Triangle. The weather that day was described as average. Throughout the mission, radio communications were replaced by an unsettling buzz of static, compasses started to malfunction, and the pilot started speaking incoherently. The fact that the Flight 19 bombers were over the Bermuda Triangle when they last sent out a signal only serves to deepen the mystery. The Coast Guard and Navy launched an immediate and extensive rescue operation that spanned 270,000 square miles over 5 days. A report from an ocean liner that was in the plane's last estimated location, claiming to have seen a massive fireball in the sky, provided the only lead as to what had happened to the aircraft. 2 Martin PBM Mariner rescue planes were sent after it was discovered that Flight 19 had completely disappeared. However, one of the Mariners carrying 13 passengers disappeared 20 minutes into the search. Theories include that the men became disoriented and eventually ran out of fuel. A more creative theory is that the men were abducted by aliens or flew through a dimensional portal. The search for the planes continues. British South American Airways Star Tiger. The Star Tiger, operated by British South American Airways, took off from the Azores on January 30, 1948, headed to Bermuda. It was reported that the aircraft had experienced issues with a heater and a broken compass before takeoff. Despite high winds and unfavorable weather, the plane still took off as planned, trailed by another aircraft that monitored the skies for any indications of severe weather. Because of conditions, the pilot opted not to ascend higher than 2,000 feet. In addition, the plane burned fuel far more quickly at the low altitude than it would have at a higher altitude. Ground control became concerned when the spotter plane made a successful landing, but the Star Tiger did not follow it. The U.S. Air Force conducted a 5-day search and rescue operation, but none of the 6 crew members or 25 passengers were ever heard from again. The plane's unreliable design, potential gales, and choice to fly at low altitude could have driven it straight into the sea. Not even a life preserver or shard of glass was discovered. Some people believe the Bermuda Triangle claimed another victim. British South American Airways Star Aerial. On January 17, 1949, a British South American Airways aircraft traveling from Bermuda to Jamaica vanished completely. The Star Aerial disappeared at 18,000 feet. A rescue party was not able to start searching for any remnants of the plane until 7.5 hours later, by which time they might have sunk to the ocean floor due to suspected communication issues. The plane may have been running out of fuel, which seemed unlikely at such a high altitude. Pilot error or bad weather were ruled out by investigators because the report mentioned clear skies in that region. But over time, some experts have asserted that whatever occurred had to have happened fast and without warning, which has led them to believe that an explosion occurred as a result of a rare combination of circumstances and design flaws in the plane. Regardless of the cause, all 20 passengers were reported missing and subsequently thought to be dead, but no debris has been found. Bermuda Triangle takes yet another plane. Skyways Avro York. There were 39 people on board the Skyways Avro York military troop flight, including 6 crew members and 33 military personnel along with their families and kids. On February 1, 1953, it vanished on a flight from London to Jamaica. Shortly before midnight, the aircraft made a refueling stop on the Azores. It then took off for Newfoundland, providing reports at 1-hour intervals. The crew sent out an SOS distress message after providing a location update, which prompted the U.S. Coast Guard to launch an air and sea search operation later that day. The only evidence of the plane's crash was an oil spill on the water. Air Force C-119. On June 9, 1965, a U.S. C-119 flying boxcar disappeared on a flight from Milwaukee, Wisconsin to Homestead Air Force Base in Florida to Grand Turk Island. The airplane was used to deliver cargo, hence its name Flying Boxcar. The aircraft was carrying spare parts at the time of its disappearance. 5 crew were on board. The final communication from the aircraft was just north of Crooked Island, Bahamas, nearly 200 miles from their final destination. Wreckage from the plane was discovered on the beach of Gold Rock Cay just off Acklands Island. Piper PA-23. On a trip between Treasure Cay Island in the Bahamas and Fort Pierce, Florida, a Piper PA-23 vanished on June 20, 2005 with 3 people on board. 2 air traffic controllers failed to let the pilot know that there was a thunderstorm up ahead. Is this another Bermuda Triangle victim, or simply a case where bad weather caused the crash? Turkish Airlines Flight T-183. On February 23, 2017, Turkish Airlines Flight 183 Tarkas was traveling from Istanbul, Turkey to Havana, Cuba. It suffered mechanical and electrical problems that forced it to deviate from its original course to Washington, D.C. It was reported to have a problem with the left engine. As the plane entered the Bermuda Triangle, the in-flight entertainment screens began to have issues and ultimately shut down. Then, emergency lighting located in the floor lit up. While not a disappearance, many instances of electrical issues within the triangle have been reported before. Mitsubishi Mu-2B. On May 14, 2017, a private Mu-2B twin-turbojet airplane flew to Puerto Rico. The pilot was going to visit her sons and celebrate Mother's Day. The next day she took off to return home to New York. However, only a few miles east of the Bahamas the plane vanished while flying at an altitude of 24,000 feet and at 345 miles per hour despite clear weather. There was no radio contact with air traffic controllers in Miami. A search by the U.S. Coast Guard and Bahamian officials spotted debris in the water. Douglas DST. A Douglas DST took off from San Juan, Puerto Rico on December 28, 1948, with its final destination Miami, Florida, with a faulty landing gear light and that the craft's batteries had discharged. As the plane approached takeoff, the pilot stopped and reported a radio issue after an airport official drove out to the airplane. Eventually, the aircraft would take off after recharging the batteries. Even though the weather was good, the pilot did not respond to calls from air traffic controllers in San Juan. However, he did report into Miami. They were flying at 8,300 feet and within 700 miles of the city. A few hours later, the pilot said they were 30 minutes from Miami. Both Miami and New Orleans were unable to contact the plane after that. It is believed that the plane was off course and crashed. Divers would later find wreckage of a similar airplane, but nothing was recovered to positively identify the plane. So, were all of these disappearances a result of flying through the Bermuda Triangle, or do they less ominous explanations?
Subscribe, like, and comment. Watch these videos next.